Hi guys, Scott Franklin here from Scott Franklin Performance Coaching. I help people live awesome lives with no regrets. So today, there's an interesting topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and the topic is a narcissist. So most people have either experienced being around a narcissist, or they're in a current situation with a narcissist, and everyone's been one themselves. So let's go down to basics. So Google says that a narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest or admiration of themselves. So to me, that means that they feel that their values are more important than everyone else's, right? So they're extremely selfish. So they exhibit a lot of different traits. So I'm just going to tell my version and my experiences of narcissists, and hopefully that can relate and kind of help everyone understand what this personality type's all about. So with my experience with narcissists is they can be, this is the thing, right? They can be extremely charismatic and funny, right? They can be, because what happens is narcissists, I find they're very intelligent, they're very emotionally intelligent, and they've got street smarts as well, right? So they can use it for good or for bad. Generally, when most people are talking about a narcissist, they're talking about the bad one, right? They're talking about, that type of the selfish, manipulative type person. And what happens is when you ask a person about a narcissist, they have a hard time explaining. So same with me, when I went through my version of being around a narcissist, I had such a hard time explaining to other people what it was like. Because what on the surface, how they present to everyone else is like that they're very nice, very caring, very understanding, very loyal, and they show all of these good traits. But behind the scenes was where the people will experience, the narcissist will be very rageful, very cruel, very nasty, right? So what happens is it's almost like the people who are closest to them, they show all their most violent and negative traits towards. So they're violent and aggressive, either mentally, emotionally, or physically. All right, that's how it is. And yeah, how they do it is they entice the person into their life through, because they're very smart. They know what other people want, right? So they can quickly figure out if I can show this person that I've got what they want, or I can get them what they want, I can then start to lure them into my lifestyle. So that's what happened to me. Then I got lured in with a narcissist like that. And then generally what happens is they prey on people who have big hearts, right? Who are very kind, very, very loving, very caring, but also people that don't really know themselves yet, right? They have an inability to say no, right? They feel so much guilt in saying no to another person. And these narcissist personalities, they know that, and they prey on that. So that's the profile mainly of people that they'll go for. So then they come in, they're really nice, they're charming. There's also different types as well. So with the narcissist, there can be like the very generous and tough one. So they're very generous with themselves, their time, their money, the things they've got. But on the other side of that, they're very tough, right? That's when they're very aggressive, very rageful, very manipulative, very nasty, and all that type of stuff. Then the other type is the more charming and seductive one, right? So the charming and seductive narcissists, like, they'll never raise their voice at you. They'll never raise a fist at you. They're just very, very smooth, very cool, calm, and collected with everything they do, but just as controlling as a tough, generous type. So that's how they get you in. Once they've got you in that place where they want you, so they start to mentally and emotionally manipulate you. Then you're like putty with them, right? So some of them will even put the fear of God into you, right? Not the fear of God, the fear of death, I should say. They'll make you so scared to go and talk to other people or just talk to anyone about what's going on and they'll give you threats and all types of stuff that if you speak out about it. So that's why most people are too fearful to even talk to other people about it. And what happens is when, say you go off somewhere without that person, when you go back to that person, they'll interrogate you. They're going to be like, well, what did you say? And what did they say? And then why did you say this? And you should have said that. And then they'll start to like school you and educate you and condition you on what you should and shouldn't say to different people, right? So after spending, periods of time with these people, what I started to realize is that at the core of them, they're very fearful and they have like an inferiority complex, right? They always feel like deep down, they feel that everyone else is better than them. So their whole life's mission is a power play. They're always looking to be superior, right? So if you go into like relationships, business, friendships, any of that type of things, they're not actually there looking for the money or the connection or the love or all that kind of, they're looking for the power. They're looking for the greed. You know, they love to feel that they're better than other people. So just simple things like if you go and sit in a room, they'll sit in the most powerful position in that room, right? They'll never, everything they do, the way they stand, the way they look, everything they do is about being in a powerful position. So even when it comes to like business and stuff like that, you know, they're really not there for the money. The money's just a commodity to make them more powerful than someone else, right? So they're always looking to get one up. They're always looking for that superior position. The other thing that they'll do is they'll find out who's closest to you and they'll start to infiltrate their minds with what you're like, right? So what I mean by that is they'll start to turn your family, your closest friends against you. They'll try to do that, right? And they're very clever and cunning with how they do it, right? So this is another way to spot them is that they're very good with what they say. Like it's like they never make a mistake, even with their voice tones and the things they say. There's just no mistakes. It's too polished, right? So that's one of the giveaways. It's like they always know what to say. Yeah, so they'll go for your 1%ers, your closest family and friends, and try and turn them against you, right? And they don't necessarily try and do it in one go. They may spend weeks, months, or years chipping away at it until one day your family and closest friends will start to turn against you. You'll be like, you're not even sure why or how that happened. So that's another way they do it. So they play you off against other people. You could be like in a work situation where you go to work and all of a sudden there's like a majority of people there that are just not talking to you all of a sudden. That's because this narcissist person has gone behind your back and and they talk to all the different people there and they just make up stories and they're quite happy to make up lies, things that never even happened, right? All in the way to put you down or to make you less powerful compared to them. And then they're very smart and cunning with how they do that as well. So what they'll do is they'll make up stories. So what they'll do is they'll think about what you're going to say against them, right? So they'll think, oh, I know that this person's going to say this thing, and this thing about me. And what they'll do is they'll fabricate a story. They'll make up a story, which makes out that you're all of them traits, right? So then what happens when the two people come to have the argument or discussion? It's this person versus that person. My word against your word. So it just neutralizes each other, right? So they're very clever with how they do that, right? Because it's just like, well, this person's saying the same thing as that person. They're both accusing each other of the same thing. So most people just throw their hands up and they go, well, I don't want to get involved, or I don't care, or, or we're just going to take the side of who we feel most loyal to in that moment. So they're very clever with how they set all that sort of stuff up. Yeah, so that's probably the easiest ways to see them. The other things that they do would be in any situation, like give you an extreme situation. Say someone dies, right? They'll somehow make that death all about them and how upset they are and how hurt they are, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel hurt and upset after someone passes away, but what I'm saying is they'll almost take all the focus off the person who's passed and make it all about them, right? So they've just got this knack of getting any situation and spinning it and twisting it and making it all about them. That's what they always seem to do. Now, there's some other different like subtypes, and again, I don't know everything about narcissism. I'm just explaining my experiences with it. But at the core of it, we all have moments of narcissism when we put our values first in front of someone else. So I'm not judging anyone for doing it, because I've been a narcissist at certain points in my life as well. But I'm just pointing it out because I just feel that there's a lot of people that are either stuck with a narcissist at the moment, or they're going through it, or they've just been through a chunk of their life around a narcissist and they couldn't explain what was going on. So yeah, they start to make themselves the most important person in any situation. They flip it and change it so that it's all about them. They'll turn other people against you. Yeah, so that's the other thing. So another way, like there's another one called like a covert narcissist, right? So these are the tricky ones because they're very hard to spot, because on the surface, they present themselves really well. They present themselves that they're very caring, understanding, all that type of stuff. And they make out that you're more important than them. But behind the scenes and deep down, they really put themselves first. So for example, they'll do something for you or give you something, But the reason that they did it is so they can use that against you, if that makes sense. Right? And they'll just do a series of, so then when people start, so say there a disagreement or an argument happens between the two people, when they go and talk to all of their friends or their network of people and people ask what happened, the covert narcissist will say, well, I did this for him and I did that for him and I did this for him and they did this to me. Right? So they make out that they're the victim in the situation, but really they plotted and strategized that whole sequence of events to make that happen. Right? So they're very clever with how they do this. And unless you're on the lookout for it, you won't know what to look for, and it can happen quite easily. So yeah, be on the lookout for the covert narcissists. I mean, the more obvious ones are the ones that just make out that they're better than everyone else, and they've almost like got an absence for other people's feelings. Like it's like they don't care what other people are thinking. They're just going to do what they're going to do anyway. You know, and I think like in sport and business, there are people that do that anyway, and it's not that them people that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other people that are causing the more severe types of negative reactions and like just scarring people, just doing shit to other human beings that you just shouldn't do, right? They just don't think about it. So the way I look at it is that these people are completely identified with their ego. So you probably remember me talking about from previous videos that I've done when I talk about the ego. So when a person's coming from their ego, they think someone's got to be a winner and someone's got to be a loser, right? So have a think about that concept. Anytime when you're the winner, you make them feel like a loser. So that's when they start to bully you or put you down to make themselves feel good again. Another type of narcissist that I've experienced myself is, I'm pretty sure it's called like the parasitic narcissist. So a parasitic narcissist is someone that they'll play a victim, right? So that they get attention or love from other people. That's their way of being significant in the world. And what they do, it's almost like they're leeching the good energy from you, right? So they make out that there's always something wrong with them. They've always got a sickness. And I'm not talking about the people who are genuinely sick and have things wrong. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people that are knowingly strategizing and plotting, using their ailments and the things that are wrong with you for the effect of getting things that they want from other people. So it's the emotional manipulation. They'll make you feel bad. They'll make you feel guilt. They'll make you like you should be there for them all the time. So they're the parasitic ones. So the parasitic ones don't want anything like really bad to happen to you in one go. They're more like a cancer. Like they'll just want to see you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually just deteriorate over time, right? Because while you're deteriorating, their cup's getting filled up. So as you go down, they go up. So that one can take years and years for it to happen, but it's just another one to look out for, that people that are playing on that, because the other thing is sometimes they make out that they're not very smart. That's another giveaway. They make out like they're dumb and they're not smart, but really they're super intelligent and emotionally intelligent and street smart, right? So they're knowingly doing it. Yeah, so that's probably the main things that come to mind now. How to manage it and how to spot it. Once you've been around a narcissist and been, you've been on the negative side of it, then just by spending enough time with that person, you'll have a sixth sense for them. I know I've got a sixth sense for them now. The way a certain person laughs, the certain facial expressions, the way they walk, the way they talk, the certain stories they tell, right? There just seems to be a pattern and an energy that they give off. And once you've built your sense up to that, you'll start to be aware of it. But if you haven't happened before, it's going to be quite hard for you to spot. So that's why I'm making this video, to give you the things to look out for. So how to manage it. First one's awareness. That's why I'm making the video, is just to make people aware that these type of people exist. They're not just on TV and the movies, they actually exist in real life, right? And they do want negative things to happen to you. They do want you to feel like shit because they feed off that negative energy. That's what fills their cup up and makes them feel good. So important ways to manage it. Number one, you can use the techniques that I use in the stuff that I do, the coaching that I use. The techniques that I use, what they do is they release the button. So you know when someone pushes your button and it causes that negative emotion? Well, that button can be switched off and released, right? So that button causes a physical sensation in the body. You need to release that physical sensation, that emotion from the body, because that button that causes that emotion in your body stimulates your brain to have certain negative thoughts, which lead to certain negative behavior patterns, right? And the negative behavior pattern may just be you keep going back to that narcissist for more punishment, for more negativity, and you can't explain why. I don't know why I keep going back. It's because when your buttons get pushed, they're like magnets, right? And the magnets give off a vibration. So again, you can't see it with your eye, right? It's something that you feel. And if you're not in touch with your feelings or your psychic abilities, then you're going to miss it completely. So step one is release the negative emotions, the buttons that they're pushing. So it's like you're switching off the magnets that are attracting you back to them. And there's layers to it. It's not like a one switch off and the problem's fixed. Generally, for most people, the magic number seems to be 3. Once you release a certain button or emotion 3 times, you'll feel like you're more in control of it. So that's the first part. The second part is by releasing these negative emotions and these buttons, you'll regain access to your authentic self. So your authentic self is also known as your gut instinct. Some people call it your heart. It's that part of you that's screaming the answer to you that you probably shouldn't be around this person in the first place, or you should be distancing yourself for them or spending time with other people. It's that, right? So some people hear a voice. Some people get a strong sense of yes or no, right or wrong. Some people see a vision, right? Either way, your authentic self is designed to solve people problems, life problems, and emotion problems, right? The brain in your head is like a calculator. It's designed to solve number problems, measurement problems, and logical type problems. But with this situation that we're talking about, that's a people problem. It's an emotion problem. It's a life problem. So it needs to be solved with the authentic self. It'll guide you on what to do. It won't give you it won't tell you everything you need to do. It'll only give you the next step or two. And once you take action on them steps, your authentic self will then release more information to you. It's like a car driving in the night with the lights on. You can only see so far ahead, but you know what your goal is. Your goal is to get away from these types of people, or just understand them more and learn how to manage them. So that's the second part, connect to your authentic self. The third part is to set goals in all areas of life. So if you're bored, lonely, your life's out of balance, basically there's 7 areas that you can set goals in. If you don't have goals in all 7, your life's going to be unbalanced. And when we're unbalanced, it causes negative emotions. And these negative emotions are what the narcissists use to manipulate you back into their life and get you to do things or just be a certain way for them, for their benefit, not for yours. So pure manipulation. So it's just having goals in the 7 areas of life, and the goals need to be based on values. So a value is what's most important to you. So even when if it's an intimate relationship or it's a friendship, know what's important to you, and you'll know what's important to you because when it's not met, it'll push your button, right? So whatever's currently pushing your buttons in an intimate relationship or a friendship or in business, right? The opposite of that is going to reveal what your value is, and you need to start to acknowledge these because they're a piece of the puzzle which is going to give you clarity. Clarity is important because a person won't leave a toxic situation until they've got clarity on where they're going to next. No one likes to be stuck in no man's land, right? So get clear on what's important to you. What's important to me when it comes to a friend? What's important to me when it comes to an intimate partner? What's important to me in my workplace? Right? Start to get clear on those things because once you know what they are, you can then set goals on top of that. All right, guys, I hope that explains a bit about the narcissist. So just to recap, we all have moments when we put our values first. So we are narcissists in some moments, but I want you to become aware of the more negative personality types that are using it. They're plotting and they're strategizing and they're emotionally manipulating and mentally bamboozling you, confusing you to try and get you to do certain things for them. So it's pure manipulation, guys. So the first step's awareness. So I hope this video helps. And yeah, you can start to become aware of what you need to do to resolve the situation and then get on top of it so you can live an awesome life with no regrets. Thanks, guys.